Welcome back to Tabletop Assault. I'm Ross, and today I'm going to continue my segments on analysing the Necron Codex. Today I'm going to look at the Triarch Stalker, a sort of a vehicle unit for the Necrons. I think it's the first one I'm sort of covering, minus the Catacomb command barge. This is sort of your other Triarch Praetorian, unit sort of thing. Well, it's not Praetorian, obviously, but it's an Triarch unit that does not benefit from the Dynasty Code for the way they work, mainly in the fluff, and that does come with benefits and more disadvantages. But where the Triarch Praetorians fill one role, this one fills a very, very different one. So how this works, I'm going to have a look at the unit within the Codex, have a look at weapon options and special abilities that it does have. After that, I look at loadouts and role suggestions for it. Dynasty codes were applicable, not in this case, and then stratagems that may be useful as well. So with that, let's have a look at the Triarch Stalker. So Triarch Stalker has a movement of 10 full capabilities, 8 at medium and 6 when at lowest. So yeah, not bad, good bit of movement on that one. Similar sort of, overall you're going to see a sort of similar sort of Dreadnought sort of idea. So it has that sort of Dreadnoughts don't degenerate unless they are the bigger ones, but it has that sort of idea. It does fill that role, but it does go down in movement, which is not necessarily a bad thing for them. Weapon skill and ballistic skill deteriorate as well, from 3 to 4 to 5, which is a bit of a pain, but overall it's kind of what you'd expect, and necessarily don't need to actually be hitting with this thing, and I'll go into that a bit later. Strength of 7, which means it's quite strong. Toughness of 6, which is not as enduring as you'd think, and you'd find that with a lot of Necron vehicles, other than the big ones such as like the Obelisk and things. That's a bit more tough, but toughness 6 is not the best to have, means it's a bit more easier to wound, but still not bad. 10 wounds, which is okay. That brings it on the verge. I think it's mainly things that are 10 wounds plus have a deterioration table, so it's just in that bracket. Maybe if it was like 11 or 12 wounds, might be a bit better, but 10 wounds is what we've got. 3 attacks, which is maybe a little bit low. I would have loved for it to be 4, but 3 is kind of fine for a Necron unit, I think, because they're designed to be a bit slower. That's how many attacks they're going to get. Leadership 10, which you don't need to really worry about, and a 3+ save, which is perfectly acceptable. In terms of weapons, it has its heat ray and massive forelimbs, and it can replace the heat ray for particle shredder or twin heavy Gauss cannon, which I'll go into later. It has the living metal rule, so if you at the start of your turn, you're going to recover wounds back on it, just 1, unless you've got other benefits on it, which is very good for keeping it alive. Very, very useful on that one. Easily forgotten. I have forgotten a few times, but some to just remember with Necron vehicles and characters. Quantum shielding, which is a fantastic ability to keep endurance, and one I think is, again, don't forget, because it will keep your Necron vehicles alive, and it just does fantastic. Special ability for it is Target Relay. You can reroll hit rolls of 1 for any friendly Necrons that made a shooting attack against a unit that has already been attacked by a Triarch Stalker in this phase. So, very interesting in this one. There's some very important to mention in this one, and I'm pretty sure it's in the FAQ where, it is fine in this one. You just need to make a shooting attack. Mentions nothing that attack needs to hit. It just needs to have a shooting attack placed against it. So, you may just want to go, right, well, whatever unit that is, I want to add, reroll hits of 1 on it, because I'm going to overload it with just attacks. Say it's a knight or something you really, really want to bring down. Now it's attack on this, and your Necrons are going to get a huge, huge benefit from it. Generally, a great ability. One that gives a buff ability to, your Necron forces, which I thought was the weakness of Triarch Praetorians, that they don't offer a bit more of a benefit to the army around them. And I do love this Target Relay. It does make a big, big difference to them. So that is very much where this unit comes in, though it does have good, shooting ability as well to make it worth it. Also has an Explodes, that if it explodes, each unit within 6 inches suffers DC mortal wounds. Kind of standard on that one. So let's speak about loadout and suggested roles. So first things first, of the 2 Triarch units, this one is by far, in my view, the more useful one. It has a buff ability which helps units which as I said, I think Triarch Praetorian should do, along with a couple of loadouts which give it some options. Though I reckon one in mind, to me, is a clear winner, but me and David heavily disagree on this. I think we disagree on that. This thing does well in survivability with living metal and quantum shielding. It can do damage, which is good, and it has enough support ability to boot, so that's pretty good. Losing Dynasty codes is a pain, but you really do get something in exchange for that, so I think that's a big benefit. What are the weapons like? So let's just quickly mention the massive forelimbs. So we'll call this Stomp Stomp Massive Forelimbs. Quickly mention them. Yeah, not bad. -1 AP, so it does go through armor a bit easier, which is good, and DC damage means that, it can defend itself quite, not too bad. There's sometimes if you take dreads and things with all their weapons, they just can't defend themselves. But this guy can, so not bad, but I'd probably say combat is not really where you want this to be. Next up is Feel the Burn, and that's if you're going to use a heat ray. David, I believe, his preferred option, and in my opinion, is the weakest of the three options. I think it's David's preferred option. He might put like a wee note in there or comment saying if it is and if I'm wrong in saying that one, but I'm pretty sure he does like the heat ray. It's a shorter ranged weapon with both the focused beam, which is only 8 inches. Just read them off here. Dispersion is 8 inches, heavy 2d6, strength 5, -1 AP and 1 damage. When you use this profile, the hits hit automatically. So it is like, sort of flate, 2d6 flate, heavy flamer. So that's not bad if you are getting close by. And then you do have the focused ability, which is 24 inches, heavy 2, strength 8, -4 AP, d6 damage. When you use this profile, if the target is within half range, roll 2 dice when inflicting damage with it and discard the lowest result, which is almost your Melta ability. So, the dispersion one is quite good. Having that flamer go by is handy. It's going to cause a bit of damage. 1 damage, it's okay. It's essentially just got 2 heavy flamers on it, which is not bad. And then the focused one is also going to be more beneficial if you are in Melta range of 12-inch Melta. This relies you being a little bit more aggressive with movement moving forward, which obviously this is not immune to the heavy rule, meaning that the focused version is going to get -1 to hit, which is not ideal. I think if you want to be a bit more an aggressive player and move on forward, yeah, this one's going to be your better shout on that one. I just don't really want this to move forward. That could just be me. Next one is more shots with a bit more hurt, with a bit of hurt. Particle Shredder. So the Particle Shredder is 24 inches, so it's your mid-range weapon. Heavy 6, strength 7, -1 AP and D3 damage. Particle Shredder, again, mid-range, but you will be really good against elite-based units that you want to, they've got sort of small amount of wounds per one, say it's like 2 wounds apiece. Then it'd do okay. It's got good strength, it's got not bad AP, and it does D3 damage. Probably best used against Elder and Dark Elder, though maybe other units that would also be, other armies that would be good on that. I mean, there's plenty of that to be quite good for it. Where, you can get through their bikes quite easily and their vehicles. Heck, Dark Elder's case, I'd almost say this is kind of maybe your best option, just because you get a lot of shots and you'll just go through their armour quite easily. The other advantage is that, it gives you sort of your choices when you're shooting. And what I mean by that is that if you want to get the benefit of the target relay rule, there's multiple units, you're like, it could be infantry you want to double down on, or it could be a vehicle you want to double down on or something. It means that, you will get the benefit of this unit shooting because it can do just about everything well, and then all the units that you want to go for that one will benefit. Versus, say, the Twin Heavy Gauss Cannon, which is going to indefinitely usually want to target vehicles or heavier units because it can do a lot more damage. It can cause more wounds. And then versus the heat ray, where you need to be, more aggressive in terms of your movement to get the true benefits of it. This one works as sort of, all round or not bad. 24 inches does mean you're probably going to have to move with it, which may result in a few more misses. But I think as a good general one, the Particle Shredder's actually not that bad. Last one is far-reaching firepower, the Twin Heavy Gauss Cannon, which is 36 inches, heavy 2, strength 9, -4 AP, and D6 damage. So thank goodness, Necrons have plenty of mid-range firepower. This weapon gives you a reliable way to do damage onto heavier targets from far away. Strength 9 will get through Toughness 8 a little bit easier. I'm looking at you, Knights. Some may argue that just take 3 Doomsday Arcs, you're going to get much more benefit from them, and probably math-wise you're probably right. But this has the benefit that you only need to declare the attack, and if you fluff it, no worries. Your other units, so your other 2 Doomsday Arcs, heck, the other 3 you might have, are all going to get +1 to hit. And that's a deadly thing to have for Doomsday Arcs, to give them a much more sorry, not +1 to hit, it's reroll hit rolls of 1. So that's quite good against for things like Doomsday Arc. Obviously, if you take the code where you reroll 1s to hit, what one's that one? That is, I should really know them by heart. It is Nihilaka, Aggressive Territorial. You reroll hit rolls of 1 if they stay still. Then yeah, that's not going to be any use, and Doomsday Arcs do prefer that one probably next to any other one other than maybe Sutek. But it's really a debate of, you get that added bonus where you can put that target really a bit more, and just having that more ranged firepower where this can sit still and put a Strength 9, 2 Strength 9 shots out and have the target is really quite useful. So I do think, in my personal view, I really like Twin Heavy Gauss Cannon, but if you do already take Doomsday Arcs, then maybe you want to switch out to Particle Shredder. And I'm not a big fan of the Heat Ray. That's just my opinion on that one. But again, it depends on your playstyle and the rest of your army, which one you see the most benefit from. So I'd almost say the Particle Shredder works as your sort of alright, not bad all-rounder. Twin Heavy Gauss Cannon if you want to sit in the back and fire away, and Heat Ray if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, which is strange for me because I usually go Novuk, so I'd like to go and charge ahead, but I feel for this one, because they're not actually Novuk themselves, I'm just not too impressed by the Heat Ray, but that might just be me. Dynasty Code traits, none here, but really not that bad. Mithra I think would be too much overkill for a lot of these weapons. Sutek would be fantastic for the heavy weapons, so you don't suffer the heavy rule. And Nihilaka, I'm going to butcher that through this whole review process I do, would be good as well, because although you don't have the benefit of target really when you make the attack, it just means you're going to get more attacks yourself when you do make the attacks. It just makes it if you do stay still. But we don't have Dynasty Code, so there's no point going into that in too much detail. Stratagem recommendations that start with Solar Pulse. 1 command point. Use this stratagem after a Necron unit from your army has declared its targets in the shooting phase, but before any hit rolls are made. Pick one enemy unit that your unit is targeting. That unit does not receive benefit of cover against your unit's weapons this phase. So debatably useful this one, because a lot of the weapons do have great AP as is to shred through stuff, but if you have the Particle Shredder, this may be a little bit more useful. Against things like Hellblasters that love to be entrenched in cover, it just guarantees a bit more damage on them. I do think Solar Pulse for 1 command point is useful against things that are heavily entrenched, and it has helped me a number of times. We've then got Damage Control Override. 1 command point. Use a stratagem at the start of any turn. Pick a Necron vehicle from your army. Till the end of this phase, use the top row of the vehicle's damage table, regardless of how many wounds left. This ends immediately if the model is reduced to 0 wounds. This is okay on a Stalker. Things like Doomsday Arc will probably see more benefit of this, but hey, sometimes you just need to make sure every shot does connect. So okay, always worth remembering on vehicles, but again, it's one that other units might benefit from. Last is Quantum Deflection. 1 command point. Use the stratagem when an enemy unit targets a vehicle in your army that has the Quantum Shielding ability, but before any hit rolls are made. Until the end of the phase, subtract 1 from rolls from your vehicle's Quantum Shielding ability to see if the damage is ignored for each unsaved wound. Super useful, I found, to keep your vehicles in the game. This may be a priority target, as the buff it gives lasts until it's actually dead, because it just needs to make those, declare those shots in the shooting phase. Even if it's at 1 wound and it completely misses, they still get the benefit, unless that's been FAQ'd and I've got that wrong, in which case, comment down and get me in trouble for it. But as far as I know, yeah, you just need to declare the shot and you get it through. So yeah, I can dig this stratagem just to keep this guy alive a bit more and activate the target really. And it's just going to really just, work with your opponent on that one to say, oh, I keep it alive and it'll keep going and it'll keep buffing for those reroll hits of 1. So that'd be super useful on that side. So again, another short one in this. When I don't have the dynasty codes, again, it goes a lot quicker. What I'd say in this one is I do find the Triarch Stalker a very handy. If you do play a ranged base army, this is going to be a very, very, very good unit to use in just about any ranged army you do use, because that reroll hit rolls of 1 against the priority target is going to pay for itself, no questions asked. There's going to be a lot of deadly combinations in there. I mean, like you've got go on Immortals, blah 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 blah, Tomb Blades, whatever. Things that have, your Tesla, which obviously value hitting on 6s, but just anything is going to benefit from it. Maybe not Destroyers as much because they already reroll 1s anyway, and they've obviously got their great stratagem as well. But it does add on a little bit more reliability and brings that buff ability, which I think Triarchs should have. And again, it can do a bit of damage and has great survivability from quantum shielding. If anything, you can say as well, you can maybe use it as a distract effects idea, where you can say to your opponent, oh, you've got to watch out for this unit. It allows, when it even just declares a unit in the shooting phase, it allows all other units to re-roll hit rolls of 1. Your opponent might be like, oh, that's dangerous, I really need to bring that down, and throws a whole bunch of shots at that, forgetting that the Doomsday Arcs are the ones that actually do the damage, and they do excessively well. So maybe it might work as a good distraction away from your opponent and mitigate things away from Destroyers, away from Doomsday Arcs, etc. You really don't want this guy to give those benefits, but equally the other stuff are going to do the actual damage. So that can work as well. So thanks again for watching, guys. Please comment, share, like, and subscribe. Interested to hear what you think of the Triarch units in general, because I can cover them both now. Do they need a buff? Do they need a little bit more? I think the Stalker is a perfectly acceptable unit, and I'm just very interested to hear what you guys think. Check us out on social media where you can see our upcoming projects. I'm working on a few myself, as well as on Patreon to help support the channel, bring you more content, because we absolutely love doing so. So thanks again, and we'll see you on our Tabletop Assault Battle Report.